Alright, so dehna from the Central Hotel. Oh, underneath the mosquito netting here at the Central Hotel in Jimma, Ethiopia. Not much to speak of, but probably about 5 times better than, or nicer rather, not necessarily better, but nicer than the place that we stayed yesterday. This isn't going to sound right, but I felt like yesterday I was seeing a part of or a more realistic or something, picture of work in Ethiopia, and probably even in most of the countries where we work. I'm used to staying in the capital city, in a nice hotel with very westernized kind of services and food and all that kind of stuff. So. But speaking of food, I'm not exactly feeling so hot right now. I was thinking about this too. I've been to a handful of countries now for while working here at Jipaigo, and I think the only place I'd never had a problem was in Kenya. But then again, in Kenya, once again, we were staying in really nice places. We went on this super fancy safari, my wife and I. And then when we came back, we stayed in Nairobi in the city, and we went to really nice restaurants and et cetera, et cetera. But pretty much everywhere else I've gone. Mozambique the first time, Ethiopia the first time. Although now this is the second time I've been here, and I'm getting sick again. Whereas in Mozambique, I think after that first time, I haven't had any trouble. But I'm not quite sure what the reason is for that one. Maybe I don't know. In some of these other places, I've gotten better at figuring out what I should or I shouldn't eat or something. But I made this comment, note here about it's all part of it's all because of my attempt to be the neche habesha, which means the white Ethiopian. I go on eating with everybody else, at the same places they go, even if they're kind of iffy looking, especially here in Jimma, and I even did that a little bit in Addis, and in Gondar too. Definitely in Gondar. But I think by the time I got to Gondar, I was kind of used to. Anyway, not a big deal. So not feeling so hot, but anyway, had some stuff I wanted to talk about, ideas I wanted to share. So yeah, here's a good one. Fairly early this morning, we had a meeting with the director of the ICT staff, or the director of the ICT department here at Jimma University, and he basically accused Jipaigo of poaching all of their best, senior faculty. And I ran down the list. There are a good 5 or 6 folks who have joined Jipaigo from Jimma. Most recently, Nurling, who is our he works with Jimma. He's sort of e-learning. He's the newest member of the e-learning team. Does a lot of narration and stuff. Anyway, but Jimma made a good point, right? We've hired. First of all, we're hiring locally, right? We could have brought expats in, like myself, or we could have just had expats like myself provide TA, a ton of TA, and just rack up the bills, and to not really maybe do much about, sustainability. But what we're doing is we're hiring local, talented local folks to work for our local office here, and actually, in working there, in some ways, they're able to do more good than they could if they were at a single university. For example, the project here is all about pre-service strengthening. So, yeah, Jimma and Nurling, they've come to Jipaigo, but now they're working at 3 universities, Addis Ababa, Gondar, and Jimma, on this e-learning project, and also, the e-learning project is actually just a small part of the larger pre-service strengthening project, which includes improving teaching skills and assessment and all these sorts of things. And we'll be moving shortly into integrating the work that we're doing in e-learning with the with the updated curriculum. And I think the effect that we're having is perhaps larger, or the effect that they're having, really, honestly, because they're doing most of the work. I provide a lot of TA remotely. and every once in a while I come over, you know, when it's necessary, or when there's like, you know, when there's a good reason for me to, like now, like setting up everything here at Jimma. And also it's great because we're not only working with Jimma staff and faculty, but we've brought staff and faculty from the 2 other universities down here as well. So there's this great sort of, you know, knowledge sharing thing going on, which is awesome. Oh, and just one last thing, one last point about that, you know, poaching faculty thing. I mean, honestly, these people wouldn't have left if there was no reason to leave. You know, like chances are we may be, you know, offering them more money, or maybe, you know, maybe the fact that they'd be able to work on these sort of nationwide programs is really appealing as well. But you know, maybe that says something about, you know, the government's approach to, you know, retention of faculty. Anyway, don't want to go too much into that, but I felt a little bad. I apologized. I don't think I really apologized to. It wasn't like I was down on my knees or something, but I let him know that, you know, I understood what he was saying, and that it's unfortunate. You know, I guess these people could have left for the U.S. too, right? I mean, at least they're staying here in the country, like Jimma said. They're staying here and helping Ethiopia, helping their own country. Next thing I want to talk about just really quickly is about, you know, this coming down here. I'm coming here to Ethiopia this time, and also the past time when I went to Gondar, you know, is really, not only are we setting things up, but it's also an opportunity for training, not only training and mentoring, not only the ICT staff, but the faculty as well. But you know, we are obviously focusing most on ICT. So, you know, for example, this solution that we're implementing is virtual machine based, right? So we've got VMware, and we've got you know, a virtual machine that runs on top of that, that hosts, you know, the LMS. And you know, while a lot of the folks that are down here right now had heard of, you know, virtualization, or were familiar with the concept, they'd never really done anything with it. You know, so this is an opportunity to kind of expose folks to new ideas and give them a little bit of training. You know, and actually, it's funny because yesterday we were talking about, you know, this whole VMware thing, and they have a bunch of machines running Solaris, and they were talking about, like, oh, can we use, you know, VMware on Solaris? And I'm pretty sure that you can. Don't quote me on that one, but anyway, so today we go into this other room, this other lab that has a bunch of computers to kind of test the server setup. And sure enough, like, I sit down at this computer, and someone that had been sitting there had installed VMware, and they had gotten like an image, Solaris image somewhere. I think they were trying to get it to run. So that's awesome. You know, like we talked about it yesterday. Next thing you know, like some of the folks here they're experimenting and learning. You know. So that's awesome. But also, not only is it, you know, from us to them, but from them to us too, right? So we had everything set up. It was great. The virtual machine was up and running. We gave it a static IP address, blah, 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 blah. But it was really slow when we were trying to access it from some of the machines, actually from all of the machines. You know, and we weren't getting anything with the, you know, we could ping the machine. Of course we could ping the machine because we could pull down the site. But traceroute wasn't really giving us anything. And then somebody, actually I think it was a girl, right? They have one girl, I think, on the staff here, or part of the department. She mentioned proxy, right? So they had all these proxy settings set up on these machines, and sure enough, when we added an exception for the IP address of the LMS, or of the virtual server that the LMS is running on, boom, everything worked perfectly. I mean, it was just great. You know, I mean, the site was coming up like almost instantaneously. I mean, they actually have a really nice infrastructure here at Jimma. They've got they've got a huge staff, like 20 people. And maybe that's not huge for other universities, but, you know, here in Ethiopia, that's pretty huge. So anyway, the point there was that, you know, there was this training and mentoring that's going both ways. You know, I never had thought about the proxy thing. You know, we've never been in a situation where a proxy was in place, so we didn't have to really worry about this. But now I know. You know, in the future, if we're implementing somewhere else and we seem to be having some trouble, you know, proxy is one place I'm going to look. I have a few other things I want to talk about, and I'm getting close to my 10 minutes here, so I'm going to stop this and I'll be back in a second.